Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at the Tier 7 Soviet battleship Sinop. We're on the map Haven, the build is on the screen, and this is the first ship in the Soviet battleship fleet that has the 30-second turret traverse, which is such a huge benefit towards a closer, more brawling playstyle, and I am happy to announce that, yeah, the Sinop fulfills all of those identities that you have maybe come to expect through all the impressions or playing. It's a really great experience. However, it's a tier 7, so it's right at that threshold where it doesn't have a unique equipment in radar. It's just not equipable. It's also a tier 7 battleship, so it doesn't have 32 millimeters on its bow or its stern, unlike pretty much half the competition that it's going to go up against. These Soviet battleships really rely on mitigating damage through their armor because their damage control is just not going to do it the same way that other ships have reliably mitigated it in the past. You've got to shorten the time that the game plays. That's really your only option. You will eventually run out of damage control, and you will eventually run out of solutions to stop damage. So, just like every other Soviet battleship at this stage, our goal is pretty simple. We want to try and get closer to the enemy and punish them with our accuracy. All the while, prevent multiple fires from ticking. If I get more than 2 fires or more than 2 floods or more than 2 combination, I will use my damage control, my limited damage control charge. It's the same damage control that's available on all the other Soviet battleships. Now, enemy Nuremberg is a little bit forward, and I just wanted to fire my gun on him and see if I could contribute a little bit of damage. It does look like he's going to take torps, but if we can get him low enough that the torpedoes finish him off, I think as a team, collectively, everything worked out. Now we should be able to capture C, and then I'm obviously capture area B. My team did a great job on both flanks, and we should have a clear advantage. Now, as a Soviet battleship, your accuracy improves when you get closer to the target. And unfortunately, this Soviet battleship has very low armor compared to the competition. And unfortunately, that sort of bow tank, angled armor, presenting a good united front, and just pushing the tempo slowly towards the enemy, relying on that accuracy, you can't really do that in Tier 7 matches, especially if you go up against Tier 8s or 9s. So that's really important information that you have to consider for the sign-up that honestly you don't really need to consider as much for your Tier 8s and higher. And then, the Tier 6 and the Tier 5, well, obviously the Tier 5 is not going to see Tier 8s. The Tier 6 and the Tier 7 are really the only Soviet battleships that will have to consider this playstyle more than the rest of the line. The rest of the line can sort of conceal the playstyle with all the armor it has. You can't do that here. So this enemy Mogami trying to fire on the corner of the island. I'm close enough that the accuracy is noticeable, so on cooldown I'm just trying to punish and maybe even kill. But it looks pretty good, and yeah, if it ends up working out, we end up finishing the target off. And we've got what looks like Akatsuki. He might be rotating around. Now, just like all the other Soviet battleships, accuracy at close range is intense. You should average easily 60 to 80% of your shells on an enemy DD if you have good accuracy. But having a ship that has that accuracy, you just unlock it through your consistent aiming and knowledge of the game. That's wonderful. And it is absolutely still here. So we're obviously firing on the Arpeggio Takao, the Atago. He's trying to move back. It's unfortunately, we're in a position where he could totally punish us. High explosive, armor piercing, doesn't matter. This version takes a lot of damage. And I don't know if it ever wasn't going to take damage. One Soviet trait is that their bow armor is pronounced. They are definitely related to Gonzo, and with a pronounced bow of 25 millimeters, That's a lot of easy real estate for armor piercing and high explosive to have easy time doing damage to. So the better strategy I found... Oh, here we go. DD's right up. We have to fire on the DD. We have no choice. The better strategy on this ship, as you'll find, is really not taking too much damage at all. Unless you are, in a good, solid position, the enemy doesn't have the guns to overmatch, or maybe he has another target that he's working on. Either way, just a little bit of firepower from the enemy is enough for me to try and conceal myself in this island area, and also try and address the core issue of, them pushing on our base as we speak. Everyone on my team has unfortunately decided to come to this flank, and you know what? We don't really have a lot to work with. So, enemy Alabama, he's leading the front. I, of course, am going to aim and fire my accurate guns and locate the shells as consistently as I can, and we do about 9,000 damage. Not bad. Unfortunately, we're going to take just as bad, if not worse, and my citadel completely wide open. I expect to die. We very nearly died. Oh my gosh. These Soviet battleships, they take so much damage if you're forced to angle broadside in front of really big battleships. It's incredibly terrifying, and I'm just lucky to be alive. But because I was able to angle, and I was considering, do I want to use my damage control? Yes, we have to mitigate any damage we can. Because I was able to re-angle, I actually have an island that's blocking most line of sight, and there should be an area here where I can do free damage without any risk to the ship. And it feels pretty good. We land the necessary salvo, 7,800 once again. Oh, I love the Soviet battleships, even in this lack of armor state. 25mm bow and stern, plus the citadel. I could still do damage as if I'm a cruiser. As if I'm an accurate, scary cruiser. This is just a real treat. I haven't had this sort of feeling of accurate big guns unless you're thinking about, the Stalingrad or the Azuma or even the Alaska. I can't honestly say with a straight face that I consider the Kronstadt in the same accuracy category as all the others. But this is even larger gun caliber. This is your 406mm guns. I mean, they're doing a great job, obviously. They overmatch a lot of armor here, too. I can overmatch myself. So if you're ever fighting yourself in a Sinop, your guns will just laugh at the enemy's bow and stern. And we're doing good damage to the Baltimore, who has decided to stop. Friendly Bismarck is taking a lot of attention, and I'm just going to be dishing out damage. I like this position. It does conceal the weaknesses of the Sinop, which, of course, as we've spoken, it's the armor. The armor is really bad compared to the competition. I haven't really had to use my fighter. It doesn't come with a radar. This is it's either a fighter or nothing. You don't get scout aircraft on the Soviet battleship line. They don't want you to be able to cover up the lack of range with that. And obviously, that would be the perfect tool for the ship. As it stands, if there's an aircraft carrier game, well, cool. I've got something. Otherwise, not really that important. I let off one last salvo as he's getting close to the island, and we were just barely able to clear the island and finish off the target. So it was going to be a really bad situation, but just as other games, the accuracy really holds up. It allows you to be aggressive and also punish at the same time. It's a unique experience for battleships to feel very confident that as the enemy is approaching them, their accuracy is going to improve to such a noticeable degree that they can finish the target off. The target's own demise is contributing to that. And, speaking of own demise, we've got the enemy battleship, the King George, who pulled a super hard Notser, and he is absolutely going to die. Just need to reload the salvo and fire one last time on him. And we're not going to do anything tricky. I'm going to aim at the top of the waterline, maybe the top of the hull even, and just have the vast majority of my shells take the target out. And, of course, 3 non-penetrating. Looks like my shell location was maybe on the gun turret or something high armor zone. Really unfortunate. I needed to aim it better there if I intended to kill him. And as he's retreating, of course, he's moving outside of range. I'm going to try and fire off another salvo against him when my guns are actually reloaded. Friendly Bismarck, about 50% life. It's okay. And the shell location ends up not working out. I misunderstood where he was potentially heading. I think he also changed his direction in between my shot and actually the shells landing in the water. But he's alive. And annoyingly, he's alive. Trying to stay alive. He's retreating. He's going to the back maximum range of my guns. Thankfully, I have a friendly DD that can spot him. And I assumed he was turning to try and maybe approach the DD, and obviously we're able to punish and finish off the target. Bismarck barely alive. I want to try and contribute against the Tirpitz. So the Soviet battleships, super exciting. Honestly, I don't think that there has been a line that is more exciting than the Soviet battleships. And the reason they're so exciting to me is because they're offering something that really hasn't been available across the entire line. They're offering consistent accuracy if you just push forward and play a little bit more aggressive towards the targets. This has never been rewarded in the game, and it has shown in the metas that have developed. Very long range, very isolated, very low concealment. That's not the case with this ship, or any Soviet battleship. You have the accuracy to always punish. Always punish. I mean, easily 10,000 damage per salvo at this range, and if not more. So, enemy Tirpitz barely alive. I got a good salvo off on the King George, but if the Tirpitz dies, well, guess what? The game's over. So I'm just trying to play for the end of the game. As he's rotating around, we will, of course, just punish the hell out of him. But friendlies are able to finish him off just as he becomes in view. And that was a game in the Sinop. The armor definitely is lacking compared to the other Soviet battleships and the other situations the Soviet battleships can get into, but the guns still hold up. The limited damage control, rapidly recharging, really a real treat to play these guys. Leave in the comments what you think. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.